personally not for that. Like, I don't believe in extremes. I think it should go home, but on a consistent basis, but it doesn't have to be every night. And if you can get it done in your classroom, a lot of teachers use it as morning bell work, and so that they're doing it then, and then they turn it in as they're, get it done, and then you can go through it and correct it really quick. Have the kids do it during bell work or morning work, and then have them pair share it so that they can go over and see if they can fix any answers that are wrong, and then that saves you on correcting time also, because the program does not anywhere have time for you to correct homework with kids. That's extra and above on that. And when I taught first grade for a long time, and I always had kids correct any mistakes they made on any paper, so I always had like a little MTSS time when I had my foster grandma and an aide with me, and we would just do corrections, have a correction time. So I don't know how you want to work that, but if they do it in class, if they've done it. I'm all for sending the remembering page home, because that's just a review. Okay. Now, why I had you go to this and read the top there, if you look by your backpack, it says the word goal. How many of your goals are additional practices? It says additional practice.
Does that come later?
Yeah. Go a little bit farther in where there's homework, where there's a homework page. Here's what kindergarten looks like. There are 3 here. So you have, yours is different compared to first and fifth. First through fifth has 2 pages that you have copied up top that you see. Did you get one of everyone? Or did you just want one and you have it electronically? So you see how yours is laid out, and you see what I put a box around. Most of them says for additional practice. And the way that it's intended, additional practice, is just that practice, and it's not supposed to be graded. Most of the teachers go ahead and grade all the homework. You can make that decision if you want to or not. That does not matter. It's not going to take the program, and blow it apart or anything. You decide what you want to take grades on. But if you look on your paper that I gave you, the other goal there is formative assessment. Did anybody open up to their homework where it had a red check and said formative assessment? Okay, so you'll see that check is in red, and then it says formative assessment. Just these pages you're supposed to take grades on and not send it home. You want the kids to do it because that is your check to see how well they're progressing. And I just learned that this summer, and I've been working on it for 5 years. I read this book constantly, and I'm always finding new things like, dang, I did not read that little section up there. So, like I said, this is just filled with a ton of information. So don't think the first year you're going to really have a handle on the whole program. You have to read it a couple times through. So everybody understand the difference between the homework? And then down at the bottom I give you the directions so that you have that. Like I said, you have this electronically so that you can give your the teachers you're working with, you can give them all this information. So I wanted to try to make sure anything I gave you, you had access to send it and pass it along. While I'm on that, passing it along, just don't put this on the internet. Anything I give you, like the video and stuff, do not put on the internet because just legal reasons. I'm just going to leave it at that, okay? I've got a ton of stuff, and I'm dying to share with you, but just don't post it. Just share it with your staff, and that's it. So that was my homework reminder there. So like I said, there's just a ton of ways. It's whatever you feel comfortable in doing, but it's meant, those formative assessment homework pages are meant to grade and to do in class so that you know where they're at. So if you're sending homework home, a lot of times some of them will get lots of help and you think they're doing really well. The formative assessment. So take your homework page and go back to the last page of the lesson, right before that green page. You see a big red box that says formative assessment. Were you told about this? Okay, this formative assessment box is underneath every single lesson. I encourage you to read that first, because that gives you the focus to your lesson. You normally have 2, 3, or 4 activities in a lesson, And if you don't know what that focus is, you think all of them are like super important. So if you are running a little short on time, this will tell you where you need to spend the time on and what other activities you can kind of breeze through.
Well, that's another thing, kind of, we could look at that for what our ICANN is on the students
Yep.
to like start
Yes.
your lesson. So,
Yeah, that's why I say read it first.
Yeah.
That's the target for your lesson. Okay, so if we're still looking at this page here, I'm just going right down this list. Summative assessment. Have you been told whether your district's going to use Form A or Form B for summative assessment? Okay, it's Form A. I'll tell Dan that later. It's going to be Form A. Form A will give you the most information and the kids have to do the most work. Form B is just bubble in the answer. They can guess if they want. You don't want that. So you want them, because on the Common Core, they have to do the solving of the problems, drawing out the pictures, everything. So you want to use Form A. So make sure everybody is using Form A. In the upper grades, they'll use Form B for like a review, and that's it. But I wouldn't even talk about Form B. It's just a multiple choice, and we don't take multiple choice tests anymore that are like that, so I would not use it.
the assessment book?
Yes.
You'll see,
Yep.
you see the difference when you open up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, you'll have Form A on, the first will be the first 4 pages, and then Form B will be right after that.
Okay.
Yep, and then your performance task will be after that, I believe. I don't know if it's first or last for the performance. And then MTSS, like I said, I normally say for later. So if you want to be, if you want to have fidelity, you guys laugh at that word because we do it on our side of the stage. If you want fidelity in your program, these are the things you really need to work on, and make sure everybody in your district is using these critical core components the same way to really enhance that horizontal and vertical alignment. So that's why these are important. It's not doing every problem every page. That is not what you want. That you want to be focused on here, on these.
Back to assessment. Beginning of the year assessment, I see is in here.
Yes.
Will that benefit us this year, knowing that we did not use this?
The beginning assessment, the beginning of the year assessment is assessing what they had learned the previous year. It does not say what the end, like what your end one is. So you have a beginning of the year and end of the year one. Beginning of the year, if I was in first grade, test over kindergarten.
And so since we didn't use this program last year,
Right.
you would not.
That's going to be a district decision on what you want to do for that. I don't know how all of what your district is doing to show growth, and that's been the big thing. Like everybody I've talked to, they're not sure on what they're going to use to show growth for this. Is it, are you going to do a pre-post for every assessment? If you are, these assessments are long, and that's a lot of time. So are you going to use beginning of the year, end of the year? Now you have another Common Core assessment on your resources online, which I don't know if it's in there or not. I have not checked. And that is the basically what they're going to be learning the whole year, and then you give the end of the year assessment out of there, and then you've got kind of a growth measure to see. But it's totally, I mean, nobody's figured this out yet. Like anybody I've talked to on the state has not figured this out, how they're going to do the growth measure for this. In your first year, I wouldn't say that's a high priority, but depending on what your curriculum department says and what they need as data, that's up to them. Any questions on the critical components here? Remember, when you get this and give this, I would probably take that off of there. Not to freak anybody out and say, am I going to get assessed on this or evaluated on this?
We still will.
It's like give yourselves a year to even know the program.
say this was in what Alan shared
Yes.
too? It isn't.
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't-
like I said, because I knew you were taking whatever I gave you back, so I just wanted to make sure you had it electronically, so you could write all over yours and take notes on it and print out what you need. Okay, any other questions before we move on to that daily routine? This looks so simple, and it should be simple, and I'm amazed that when I walk in, everybody does something different on it. So it's been really hard to get that vertical alignment, so I did make a video of it. And you're gonna have to pass around again. You have second grade, first grade, and kindergarten. Take what you want and pass this around while I find the video on my machine.
Go backwards. No, share.
Actually, maybe it's gonna be a lot easier.
Oh, that just.
I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so once you get the PowerPoint, I want you to open your teacher manual to Roman numeral page 31. Do you need one? What grade?
No, it's okay.
You gonna share? Do you want one? I brought an extra one.
Do you want me to switch so you can, I can switch with you.
Or you can use one of my books and look through it. It doesn't matter. Okay. And if you need sticky notes or highlighters, I have them right here. I'm a sticky note.